Rose. Dan and I chatted about what he wanted me to say, and my writing is very messy because I was trying to be fast, so I might have a little few pauses here. Dan Rose has taught elementary, high school, and community college for over 20 years in Massachusetts, Vermont, Scotland, and New Jersey. He has been a technical writer and trainer for AT&T. His poetry and short stories have appeared in a few journals: LIPS, Alaska Quarterly, and Little Patuxent Review. Since retirement, Dan has been giving presentations at senior centers, libraries, and learning centers for the last 12 years. He and his wife live in New Jersey, and we welcome Dan to Rutherford Library.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Let's do that. I'm going to present just some basics. I'm going to start out with a biography or biographical milestones on Hopper's life and when it changed, the magic years 1924, as you'll see soon. And then I'll show some of his early work. I'm going to try to limit the amount of lines or words, and it's going to be illustrations, watercolors, oils, etchings. What I'm going to do when I do that is simply talk in general about the basics, what I see, what I think, what is there. And I'm going to rely on you for your feedback and your personal reactions or responses, what you see, what you feel, what you think, and what you know from creating art, studying art, or just enjoying art. So this is an interactive presentation, and if you respond well, it will be successful. If you don't, it will fail. No pressure. Okay, I think we're ready. Born Nyack, 1882, Upper New York, New York School of Art. He worked as a commercial artist for much too long, and I highlighted 1924 on purpose. He visits Europe, goes to Paris 3 times, is strongly influenced by the Dutch and the Dutch masters and Flemish masters and the classical Renaissance and Impressionist artists. He didn't like to move much. He stayed in his apartment right on the verge or vicinity of Washington Square, right in Greenwich Village. That's a picture of the outdoors. He marries Jo Versdale Nevison. She went by the name of Jo Nevison Hopper for all of her work. Notice, in July he marries her. In November he sells all 16 New England watercolors. She influenced his drawing of watercolors, and she made the initial contact with the Wren Gallery. They were a long-time friend, that is the Wren Gallery in Hopper, and many of his paintings and works are there. They lived very frugally, even in the late 20s, when he was really earning a lot of money. They bought a huge Dodge, and they did splurge every now and then by going to the theater. In New York, when they had Hopper's New York, there was a long, how shall I say it, table on both sides, probably went from that corner to over here, over 35 feet long, all of the theater tickets that they had gone to. And it was very expensive, and $5 for orchestra seats. He also was a movie addict. When he couldn't work or when he could, he went to the movies a lot. He also was very, very well read, and his father was a hardware owner. Sold, regular hardware goods, and he worked there briefly, but his father, unlike many, said, no, you don't have to work here for the rest of your life. You can go to art school. His mother encouraged him. Designed and built houses. He designed and built their house in Truro, Cape Cod, and they lived there 6 months a year. He died in 67 at 84, and she died the next year. And 1924, notice, he quits his job as a commercial artist, which he hates, because he wanted to do his own work. He marries Jo Nivison. How did they get married? He and she met up again after going to art school. They were touring through Gloucester, Mass, Cape Ann, looking at all of the beautiful buildings while everyone else was off painting seascapes. The two of them painted buildings. She wanted to go back the following year to go to visit her friends in Cape Cod, and he said, no, I want to go to Gloucester. And she said, on one condition, if we get married, and that's how they got married. That's his home, Queen Anne style. I just visited there for the first time. I'll talk about that briefly later. Would-be artist, that's his own carving there, Edward Hopper. Childhood. He was self-consciously tall. He grew about a foot from 5th grade to the start of 7th grade. And he got the nickname Grasshopper. His family visited often to New England places, Algonquin, Maine, Gloucester, Massachusetts, Mohegan Island. They attended plays, he and his sister, and they also made theater home reproductions of the stage, including the little figures. There'll be a test on that, it will come up later. We'll see if you pass. That's a picture of the two of them. Parents, mom, matriarch, very, very strong-willed. She encouraged him, got Hopper lots and lots of art, easels, brushes, all the art things, supplies he needed. The father, very, very well read, pretty much silent, intellectual, had a huge library of French, German, and English classics, for which he, Hopper, used. So he spoke a little German, a little more French. Catboat. Okay, boaters, what is a catboat?
Boat with a mast forward. Small
Okay,
boat.
catboat.
And no jib. And no jib.
Okay.
Right.
It has a very, very
Beamy.
wide berth, shallow, and it's nicknamed that, one mast, one sail, because cats had to be shooed away. He built that, he did leak, but he wanted to also become a nautical architect, and he was always interested in buildings. Jo Nivison, art student, the head of the art school, Robert Honrye, or he was the one who started the American 8, which later morphed into the Ashcan School. Very, very influential person. He said, art can't be separated from life. He also said, look, you can be inspired, American artists, by the classics, by European painters, but what you need to do is paint what you see, paint what you know, paint what's all around you, discover America. New York School of Art and Design. He had some famous classmates, Rockwell Kent, Guy Pen Dubois, and George Bellows. Europe. What he learned from what he saw. Remember, this is very abbreviated, so I'm just trying to hit the highlights here. Here we have Degas, and you'll notice part of it's cut off. He used that, sometimes he cut off the top of a sail or mast or a side. Monet, obsessed with sunlight and shadow on the Seine, and he, Hopper, is sometimes called the artist of light and shadow. There'll be another nickname which I think is more fitting, which you'll see why I give him. And Vermeer. John Updike called him the American Vermeer. Why? Because he was very influenced by the window lighting. If the lighting came from the east, usually it meant religious. He also was very careful about how he composed each work. And what I love about Hopper and Vermeer is their portraits of women. That the women, no matter what task they're doing, always seem to have a rich inner life. They're always thinking, and you wonder, what are they thinking about? What are they feeling? The ability to be here and live elsewhere at the same time. In other words, solitude and interiority. He was a commercial artist. He was a pretty good one, but he hated it. Sailing. His first sail at the 1913 Armory Show, along with Nude Descending a Staircase. This one didn't get quite as much attention as he wanted. What do you notice about this?
Sail is subtle.
Beautiful, right? Open, wonderful colors, simple. For those who say that his paintings are dark, not his watercolors.
It's not a
And a
capital.
lot of his oils too. Why do you think this seclusive person, who was not really a people person, loved sailing? He just loved being out on the water by himself. Why?
Because you're free, liberated.
I'm sorry, what?
You're free and liberated.
Yes.
You
He was
cannot be reached
liberated,
by anybody.
alone, and he could be with himself, the boat, the water, and in control. Yes. He was influenced by modernism, Paul Strand, people going to work, Wall Street, and etchings. Okay, artists, what is an etching? What's the process for etching? We did some simple things like that in elementary school. You take a potato, you cut out parts of the things, you print it on a paper. What is it? You take a metal frame, could be steel or zinc or copper, coat it with acid-resistant finish. Then what you do is you use a needle or a etching needle to do the marks. Those are people that say the grooves of the ocean or the shadows that you would see. And then what you do is, after that, you either dip it or wipe it with a coating of acid. The acid sleeps into the rests inside those divots. And then what you do is let it dry or just simply wash it off and then press it to the paper with ink. And that gives you that beautiful wood carving. He said etching really helped his art, as in his oil paintings. Mansard roof. Okay, here's another. What is a mansard roof? Anyone know? I'm going to give you a real simple thing. It's got two eaves on the top. The bottom one is longer, the top one is shorter. That's the easiest way I can do it. He was in love with all of this, a very unpopular form of architecture by modern people at the time, but nonetheless, they loved this painting. 1 year before he got married, Gloucester, all right? If you ever get a chance, go to Gloucester, take a walking tour of all of the watercolors he did in the trail. Even though this is out of the date, he and Joe Nivison Hopper probably stopped at a place like this after they were married. And what did they do on their honeymoon? Well, they took all their canvases, their brushes, and everything and painted. Here is Gloucester, Joe Nivison's. Bright, open, colorful, right? They're painting the same thing. This is Hopper's version. You can see the difference. Here they are together. And now, because I can't do all of Hopper in only an hour or even an hour and 10 minutes or 5 minutes, if you're getting itchy, what happens is I've got to limit it. So I'm choosing my own categories. They're going to be a little bit out of some of them. But for the categories, we'll just cover this. Coastal New England, very, very popular New England watercolors, especially sailing. On the road, what you see, and driving on the road. Sunlight and shadow. Interiors. He loved doing interiors, motel lobbies, motel or hotel rooms, restaurants, people on a train. Why? Because he could see people, he could see them empty, and he can also see people there and how they were acclimating to that, and how they acclimated to the environment, and how they interacted with it. And alone together. Coastal New England. Okay, sailors, what is the leg in sailing? You're taking a zigzag route, and the leg is a straight path. What do you notice about this? Aside from blues. Open, independent, just lovely that those lines of horizon, sky, and water, very influenced by Japanese woodcut painters, but also just that wonderful, wonderful blue sky and water, and the almost impressionistic view of the lighthouse, Long Point. This painting, you'll see it in lots of note cards, and I love it for one reason, primarily. Oh yes, you see these two rocks, sort of as curtains framing it. You see the entranceway and you see the dories and the harbor. But this is what just drives me crazy happy. You can see the texture of that white. How many people have ever done plastering or just, filling up a crack? And sometimes when you do that, it's a little rough. It looks like you're going over sandpaper. That's what I love. I always say, I know I have to wipe it smooth, but I always love to see that because it makes me realize the texture of that painting or applying of the plastic, which is one of the reasons why I love artists like Van Gogh. When you see the brush marks and you can say, oh yeah, I can see how he painted that and feel that. It's very tactile. So I did this. Notice the influence of the Impressionists there. And notice how wonderful that white is. And there's the picture again. Pemaquid light. Okay, here's Pemaquid light. It's older than I am. It's going to be celebrating its 200th anniversary in 2 years. So in 1827, John Quincy Adams gave the okay for it. It started out kerosene, then went to gas, then finally in 1934 automated with electricity. And I kept looking at the hopper, and every year we come here after 15, 16 summers, we always go here and stay in Mid-Coast, Maine, and I always marvel at it. And for maybe until about 4 or 5 years ago, I said, something's wrong. It doesn't look at all like the hopper. What's wrong? And it's like when you wake up really early in the morning at 3 and go to the water and hope that the sun comes up, and then all of a sudden it dawns on you. Well, they painted it. They painted all the cracks, they painted it with bright white, and I said, now it looks like hopper. And this is what he loved. Notice there, I'm going to go back. Looks like there are four black men. I think that was done not just for artistic reasons, but for other reasons too. But you'll notice, it's very important. What's the relationship of those 4 men to doing recreations of scenes from plays? We put figures of the actors there. Notice how those 4 people make the picture. It's balanced now. This is a watercolor. Maybe I'm not very human. What I wanted to do was paint sunlight on the side of a house. And it shows over and over and over again his fascination with buildings, light, and shadow. Please step in. If there's anything, I'll have to prompt you because you're very, very quiet. Okay. On the road. How many people have seen this on Route 6A? Okay. When you go there, you're surprised. Why are you surprised? You recognize it, but it's not quite the same. At the time that he painted this, the attendants wore vests and ties, right? Yes, you won't see the mobile sign, but if you go there in Cape Cod, right on the way to Truro, you can actually buy a print or recreation. he played with everything. The road is much wider, there's a yellow line going across, and depending on the print that you see, or if you see the original, it will truly affect what you see and feel and think about the painting. This is a particularly bright one. If you see darker ones, what do you feel? Well, how do you feel about the trees here? Are they friendly? Are they cutting into nature? Is it something that's encroaching here, sharing? Any reaction to this? How do you feel about this when you see this? You feel sorry for the man, or you say, oh, here's a steady worker?
Old.
What? Anything?
I think it looks very peaceful.
Yes, yes.
The trees are soft.
Other people would say it looks fearsome because of the trees and it's sort of encroaching.
It was
What?
isolated.
Yes. Is that
Lonely.
isolated happy or isolated good?
Lonely.
Lonely.
Oh,
Okay. Loneliness is one of the words that keeps popping up over and over. And I don't mean to minimize that, and he himself, Hopper, admitted to loneliness was an aspect of his paintings, but I'm going to try to promote something else too. Anything else here?
This is a
Yeah.
much lighter version than the original that I've
Yes.
seen, which plays much more into the light coming out of the building. It's much more of a dusk kind of a scene.
Much more of a,
Dusk,
yes.
which for me has always made those trees seem a little more ominous.
Mhm.
Like this is sort of carved out of this little space, this
Yeah.
island of light carved out of a darker surrounding, which is something you see
Thanks.
a lot.
Yes.
I agree with the ominous aspect. I would want to walk past that station because it gets very dark and you don't know what's there.
Mhm. This is on the cover of one of those big books of Hopper's illustrations, Western Motel. And this is one of the aspects that Hopper is noted for, detailing or representing America. This is a very 1950s painting. Why do I say that?
Car.
Take a look at the car,
Yeah.
okay? Also, after Eisenhower helped, fund the interstate highways and cars, people moved into the suburbs, more people had cars, and they took vacations, motels were popping up all the time. Now here, totally subjective, what do you think the woman is doing there, sitting with her suitcase packed and her shawl?
Meeting her lover.
Huh?
Meeting her lover.
Ah, is she, do you think she's on business?
In the 50s?
No?
Why not?
Is she waiting for the chauffeur, the bellhop, to move her stuff? Is she driving that thing? And by the way, those hills, we'll take a look at that too. If you've seen that, someone said they're almost like elementary school hills, but it doesn't matter. This is one of those window paintings, like Vermeer, where the lake comes in and you see the shadow and the beautiful colors. And this on the wall there, bringing out all the colors. It's a great, great perspective.
Actually, we lived in Connecticut and mid-state Connecticut, and the hanging hills around the Merritt and Wallingford area are not unlike that. So you would see these cliff faces, and it was all part of the Appalachian Trail.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I'm from New Britain, Connecticut.
Oh,
Next door neighbors.
Yes.
This is another close-up. I thought she looked a lot more severe. Here she looks some more thoughtful. I just did that as here. And see it go.
Oh.
What do you think? Huh? Happy, sad, lonesome, reassuring?
It reminds me of Mr. Gray's store.
Yes, it does.
Across, yeah.
Across the
said that?
bridge. Right across the bridge.
Right.
Yeah.
Reminiscent. Even people, we don't know where this was. In fact, I just read about this and Joe said, no, didn't exist. It's just, he took a lot of different things and put it together, right? He does that a lot. I thought it was Connecticut Shore, like one of those shore houses.
Oh.
Could be Nyack. She said it was probably owned by organized crime and they just put it up there as a park. But he would take and steal a lot of things. And we don't know where. All we know is at 7 a.m. And by the way, Joe was the one who was responsible for naming a lot of the paintings. And he didn't name them specifically. So this way, people will say, oh yeah, I've been there. And who said the word reminiscent just a while back? Yes. That feeling of reminiscence. Oh yeah, I know that place. Even if you've never been there, there's something about Hopper's paintings, especially his oils, where you say, oh yeah, I'd like to step in there, right? I can be right there. Or I've been there. Or I know a place exactly like that. One person who saw this said, oh yeah, I bought that print because I owned that clock. American literature, we're talking about Lisa Muller, I didn't know her at the time. Poets and storytellers move into the vacancies Edward Hopper left them. And the only change I would make to this, and maybe I'm being more optimistic, is I would say that Edward Hopper makes storytellers and poets of us all. In that there's a literary value, an anecdotal value. Why? He went to the movies, big movie buff, addicted to theater, read German, French, and English. In fact, when he met his future wife, Jo, he was reciting a poem in French. He paused because he couldn't remember some of the words, and she finished the rest of it verbatim. So she was no slouch. Read, saw, and also he did a lot of thinking. There was a lot of time left for that canvas to be empty. He did only 2, maybe 3 paintings a year. Like Vermeer, he was very, very slow and certain and did lots of sketches. You know this. Early Sunday morning. Somebody I know, one of our sons, has this print on his wall. And I was looking at it, I said, I never saw it before. Of course, that's it. So how do you feel about this? What do you think? What do you see?
Feels like home. Feels like home. It's like downtown Damascata.
Yeah.
It's a silent.
This was originally called 7th Avenue Shops. He was very irritated when somebody else or a viewer gave it a different name, but the name is wonderful. 7th Avenue Shops is terrible. Also, it doesn't look anything like the 7th Avenue Shops, even at the time he lived there, this painting. What else do you notice about it?
Nobody's up yet.
Mm-hmm.
Quiet.
That magic moment, the suspense, just before the light, changes and people come, the storekeepers, the shoppers, the visitors, no cars parked there.
Long shadows.
And you got it, the long shadow, and that's what I saw when I was looking at it. There's something else. No, not blank.
Layers.
Before we continue, what's the importance of this blue sky there and that black, which is a building? Here you have a peaceful, old, classical New York architecture, and then you have in the background other skyscrapers going out, and it's accentuated by the beautiful blue space. Early Sunday morning, not 7th Avenue Shops. There's something missing. What's missing? No, not the title. That. Those shadows make it. So where is the light coming from? East, over here. And I don't know if a fire hydrant, even a broken one, would cast that long of a shadow, but it just makes the whole painting. It's just a study in horizontal lines. And notice, not really, all of the windows and all of the shops there and how it is. And this barbershop pole slightly tilted, so it accentuates all of the other lines.
Can
And
I
once
add-
again, this is a composite. It doesn't look anything like the original.
And another example of that, of course, is that the avenues are north to south. So you cannot possibly have those shadows coming
Thank you, thank you.
So that we know that corner intimately. We lived at that corner, and that's the corner of 15th and 7th Avenue. It's the block between 15th and 16th Street, and the tall buildings are where they are now, and they were starting to encroach on that. But the point is, of course, he's looking west, so the sun would be coming from behind him. But he's turned it around to pretend as if that's a east to west street, not a north to south street.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And I verify that because all the people said 7th Avenue. Yeah. Why do I put this in? It has nothing to do with the road, shadows, light. There was a critic in mid-20th century, Clement Greenberg, very famous one, who championed all the abstract expressionists like Willem de Kooning and Jackson Pollock, and also he put in a little dig at Hopper, saying, well, he was an unimaginative realist. He called them people who just are anecdotal. They provide surplusage. It's surplus. It's unnecessary. You, from Brooklyn, boom. What Hopper wanted to see was all of these parts of the roof looking down. From this view, there's only one thing missing: Brooklyn Bridge. He didn't put it in because he didn't want it there. He never painted the Brooklyn Bridge. He never painted the George Washington Bridge. He never painted Eiffel Tower. Overdone. Once again, a window painting. Here you get that voyeuristic view. You're looking in at someone else looking. Very wonderful technique. Interiors. You know who that is?
His
Joe.
wife.
His wife, Joe. She was 69 years old at the time. This is called the ultimate summer painting. What do you notice about the light, and what do you notice about that Vermeer effect? The interiority. What is she thinking? Is she happy? Is she longing? Is she happy to be there? Is she regretting? And you just have the hint of light coming in with the shadows. I have to say another thing in Joe's favor. There is a famous, my favorite critic of Hopper, Gail Levin, and she said that marrying Edward Hopper was the worst thing that Joe Nicholson ever did. She was his lifetime model, the only model. So let me ask you the question. Right after they were married, Hopper never paid for a model. In fact, I don't know if he ever did. Why?
He had one.
He had one? Right. Why else? That's the obvious reason. Was it jealousy?
Cheap.
Cheap. They were really frugal. I mean, frugal. And no one else would put up with him. I give not only Hopper, but also Joe Nicholson credit for being so many women, because she was so multifaceted and so deep and so amazingly spiritual that she provided a doorway or artway to all of these women. Just a few studies. He usually did at least 3 studies. Here are all of his markings. And once again, she's 69 at the time. When he wasn't painting and not going to movies and the theater wasn't open, he begged the theater owners to let him just go in and draw. He loved the interiors of theaters. He's done that a lot. And the view he has is not looking at the audience, but his view is looking at the audience, looking at the stage. Of course, we know who the woman in the right is. And no, she's not looking at the film. She's not looking at the audience. She's thinking. We don't know what, but like Vermeer, those women are really, really good at just in the interior. Just 2 of 53 studies for just that one part. And notice the Art Deco here. I don't know if the colors look exactly like that. It wouldn't surprise me if you changed it. If you change the sun and shadows, certainly change the interiors. When this is advertised, this picture was used. It happens to be my favorite. So, who is she? What's she doing there? Is she working and taking a break? Is she waiting for someone? Is she just there resting on her way before she goes home?
Or reflecting on a broken relationship.
Ah! She's sitting alone. Does she look happy or sad or just introspective?
She's unemployed.
I would say
And
very,
in
Pensive.
Pensive.
yeah, contemplative.
Once again, that's his wife there. Notice not only the circles, the chairs are circled, the lights all facing her. Even if you look at this, the shadow of this is facing toward her. And notice the bright yellow hat, and she has something in the hair which matches the fruit that's there. Okay, where is she physically though? What is the place? What's the brand name of the restaurant?
Horn and Hearted.
Horn and Hearted. And what do you know about the history of Horn and Hearted? It's always open and
It's
almost,
slowly let part of
almost always busy. How she found this, I don't know. I don't think she has cooties or anything, but she found this place all alone. Why does she have one glove off?
She's been there for a while. Someone pointed out that there was an empty plate in front of the coffee cup.
Yeah, so she's already had a muffin or a roll or something like that. And the coffee there, and she's thinking. Someone said, is she cold? And that's why she's wearing the glove, because she said, I'm always cold wherever I
She's still
am.
wearing a coat.
Right. Right.
She's not, doesn't look like she's in a rush. I'm sorry, what did you say?
She took it off so that she could eat.
Right, that's the most sensible, commonsensical thing, right. Someone once said that she's waiting for someone because it looks like there's a door. Yes.
Yes, the center of the picture is the empty chair. And with almost all of these paintings, I can imagine going and sitting in that chair.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always the most prominent space, even in the Public Library picture, the most prominent space is empty.
Uh-huh.
And that could be where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so that I guess that, I hadn't even thought about that before, but that's why I love Hopperson, which I'm like in all the paintings.
And I think it's funny or interesting that a place that's so crowded has provided such silence and ability for practicing solitude. Because Horn and Hearted had a rule, you could sit anywhere, all levels, everything, always noisy and crowded.
Beautiful.
He, Hopper and his wife, Jo, neither of them cooked. He never knew how, and she hated cooking because it took time away from her art. They ate out a lot. Luckily, food wasn't that expensive, and there was a lot there, and they went to lots of Chinese restaurants. I don't know why, there was one close by. What do you notice here? Who's sitting in the back that they got cut off there? A couple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man and a woman. Who's sitting in forefront? Two women. This is 1920s. This is a pro-feminist picture showing that women can be together, talk, without a male present. He's done that a few times, very subtly. He even has a painting called Ladies, Lunch for Ladies, because if a woman was unescorted at a certain time, she was considered a woman of the night, woman of questionable values, prostitute. In the 1920s, lots and lots of women, with the advent of the typewriter, went to work and worked you know, helping either as a single woman or as a married woman. Just, I better stop talking or we'll never get through. Alone together. What's this? You know it. So what's the name of the hedgehog?
Rear window.
Rear window. And what is the significance of the binoculars there? He's in a wheelchair, recuperating.
Staring at the apartments beyond.
Yeah, and what happened there?
Murder.
A murder. And we see all the other ungainly things happening through the binoculars. This view of looking at someone, looking at something else, or just looking at people, voyeurism. And there's an element of that. Here is a sketch. Study office at night, and this is what it became. Let's go back. Very cramped, right? Now, what do you see there? An empty typewriter. What is the woman looking at?
The view.
She's not looking at her boss.
No, she's looking.
Looking at the
She's
papers.
looking
and
at the floor for the dropped paper. What about him? We can't tell if there's a wedding ring on. We don't know if they're married. We don't know what their relationship is. We don't know. I mean, she is dressed provocatively, and notice the lighting there. That's what's amazing. How somehow you get this well, I don't know where that light comes from on there, and the window, and the angles there just seem to, they're almost at the edge there. They're at night working and silent, and it leaves all these questions that you keep on asking. See the difference? Cape Cod evening. I did a close-up of this so you could see the faces. Now, for those who say that Hopper depicts loneliness and alienation, yeah, I can see that here. I just wanted to show who or what is the most prominent figure in this painting.
The dog.
A dog. No question about it. All right? It depends on the print that you have. So there's a woman looking down, probably worried. Did he pay the mortgage? Is it going to leave me? Is there another woman? We don't know what. He's looking at the dog, and the dog, anecdotally, is supposedly listening to a whippoorwill. This is a composite. He, Hopper, stole the doorway from a house in Orleans, Cape Cod. The copse of locust trees are nearby. Only the tall grass is his. He saw that overlooking his studio window, which is a little creepy because, you know, normally I would say tall grass, oh, isn't that lovely in the country? But hey, man, get a lawnmower. You know? And the dog, they never owned a dog. They didn't borrow a dog. The neighbor didn't have a dog. He said, this painting needs a collie. It has to have a collie. So he went out, drove to the local library, no internet, no collie, no dog books. He's coming home dejected, and wouldn't you know it, there was a couple, kids, and a big collie dog got out of the station wagon. He didn't have a camera, but he did have a sketch pad, and sketched the collie and used it there. Yes?
You keep talking about these composites. Did he take a camera? Did he take pictures?
No, he didn't. As far as I know, he didn't take pictures, but he took a lot of sketches. And he worked on those sketches and worked on it. And if he didn't like it, he changed what was there. He made it disappear, gave it different colors. He stole from a lot. But thank you for asking that. So, who does that dog remind you of?
Lassie.
Of course, Lassie. I watched it every Sunday night. Lassie, get help! Okay? And if Lassie were really paid for what she deserved, She could have been an ER doctor or first responder. She was getting help all the time. So Lassie, being very, very obedient, followed the directions. And there she is on the psychiatrist's couch getting help.
That's my favorite.
This was a fast painting. This was done in less than 5 weeks. It is a war painting. Why do I say that? Give you a hint. December 7th, 1941. That's why the streets are dark. What? Blackout. It was Joe who named it Nighthawks. The lighting, fluorescent lighting, just came into vogue, and this was lit by fluorescent lighting. One of his most famous, iconic paintings. What else do you notice about it? What's missing, what's not there, and what is? And how do you feel about it? Don't all answer at once. Yes.
I was just at the Art Institute 2 weeks ago looking at this, and it was
In Chicago?
in Chicago, yeah. And it was really interesting because it was a hot, steamy Sunday and raining out. That place was crowded, it was crazy. But when you got to the room where that was, all of a sudden it's like the whole crowd just turned silent. So that whole Alone Together was there, and it was, you just heard the noise level drop, and people just, it's almost like the characters in that, where there are 4 of them there, but they're not interacting with each other. They're all in their own little silos. So it was just really interesting how the audience behavior in that museum really echoed what they were looking at in the painting.
What's missing? There's no doorway, no doorknob, no way to get in or out. It's almost like they're in a glass aquarium. And if you want to talk about loneliness or alienation, yeah, this is where it is. No one's talking. There's Joe over on the right. We see, of course, the men wearing hats, and the only one looking up is the person serving. No name, just 7th Avenue.
Is the building in the back from New York?
Phillies or the houses?
The houses.
Yeah.
It seems to be a repeat design.
Well, don't forget there's also Blackout.
Yeah.
He started this thinking about it December 7th and finished it in record time. I can't remember the exact date, but it was around January 21, which is really speedy for him. He did about 2, maybe 3 paintings a year. Alone Together, just sort of, closing frames. This is the view of Hopper that most people think of. The big man, growly, gruff, surly, silent, almost scary, the house that they helped build. And there in the distance, faceless, is Joe. Arnold was a very, very famous black and white photographer. I wouldn't want to mess with this man. No? The face, the demeanor, physical body says, danger. Do not enter. Trespassers will be persecuted. You've been warned. Why do I say that? They lived in this house. There was not an electric stove. There was a coal burning stove. Neither of them liked to cook. There was hot and cold running water. Very, very Spartan. They ate out a lot. They had a wood burning stove. And Joe, who was, if he was taciturn and very closed-mouthed and non-social, she was a non-stop talker. People just came up to her. People started confessing to her, telling the whole life story. She engaging. She was a great salesperson, organized, bright. So she had a friend who was taking our course in the Cape Cod College, and she came in, she said, Mr. Hopper, my professor says that you are a great American artist. And you know what he said? Nothing. Not a thing, not a thank you, or, oh, that's not true, or nothing. Here's another view of Hopper, which I think is also true. What do you notice about this?
He's brooding.
Does he seem very happy and comfortable? He seems terrified.
Brooding.
Who are these people? I don't want to talk to any of them. I don't want them to talk to me. And there is his wife. He was about 6'3". She was about almost 5'1", 100 pounds. And she's looking out for him, protecting him. Don't worry, we'll get out soon. And let me tell you, it's not reported. If you want to really learn about Hopper and love Hopper, it's Hopper, a love story. It's about an hour documentary on the relationship between Joe Nivison Hopper and Edward Hopper and how they got together. She would get 3 salaries if she deserved all the things that she did to make his paintings get sold, find out where they were, what museum, what exhibit, to find out what was in them. She did everything, and she was a model, and they went on trips together, and she did one of the most annoying things ever that you have for an artist with an empty canvas syndrome. She had a studio right next to his, and she worked, and she drew, and she sketched while he was brooding and thinking and projecting all these things and going to the movies and doing whatever. Here's Joe. Talking to Eddie is just like dropping a stone in a well, except that it doesn't come when it hits bottom. That was one of the nicer things she said about me. She kept an extensive journal, and whenever things were going well, she called him Eddie, and when they weren't, she called him Ed, and there were a lot more Eddies than Eds. Physical fighting, verbal fighting, yeah, but they did love each other. Someone once, I don't know why, talked about Hopper in personal drawings of buildings. I think his portraits or depictions of buildings are some of the most intimate paintings and watercolors he's ever done. And this is a portrait of the two of them. How do we know? The larger house and the small house, 2 Puritans. Just simple.
And elm trees.
And here is his last painting.
Oh,
Before I tell you what the title is, what do you notice that's there and what do you notice that's not there? Who are these two dressed as? They're husband and wife, or they're a couple. Like, like mimes, right? Silent.
Oh.
What's not in view?
Audience.
The audience. Us. We're here. And they're taking their final bow.
What's it called?
Two comedians. 1965. He died 2 years later. So here's just my own personal summary of why Hopper is so memorable and just wonderful. American settings. No, he didn't do Christmas morning opening up presents under the tree. He didn't do Thanksgiving dinners. He didn't do 4th of July parades or anything patriotic. But if you look at his paintings, you can know exact time and place and people. And you recognize yourself, even years later, in that time, in that place. 1950s. A woman, either on her own, rendezvous, we're not sure where it is. I think she's on her own. But. Architecture. He loved buildings, he loved light, he loved shadows, And he just, if he didn't like the way it was done, he just repainted it. Or chose something from another. Nature, especially sailing. There's a reason why his most successful Russia paintings were New England watercolors. Just open, airy, beautiful nature. Dramatic moments, when things are about to change, often in silence. Dusk, sunrise, any moment. It could be even a moment inside a building or whatever. Interiors, movie theaters, drama or comedy theaters, restaurants, interiority, that view, that Vermeer-like effect. He and Vermeer, ability to capture women in repose, just thinking, being there alone, especially women, but also men, people, and light, and of course light and shadow. He is often referred to as the painter of light and shadow, and sometimes he's referred to as a person who personifies or represents loneliness and alienation and all kinds of estrangement. I think primarily of Hopper as the painter of solitude. And that's what I think attracts so many writers and poets and thinkers and people who just want to be quiet.
I would use the word melancholy too.
Oh, definitely.
I think it connotes a little bit more downness and being lonely.
Melancholy fits, and he painted melancholy well. More sources. Unfortunately, this book was out of print. Amazon sells it for $74. You can get a cheaper version, a used version. It's filled with beautiful poems, all based on gorgeous reprints of Hopper paintings. The Poetry of Solitude, edited by Gail Levin, a very lovely 3-page intro. An American Love Story, also. I think you can get it on PBS Passport. There still is a PBS. And, okay, the Hopper home. I recently visited. Unless you are in Nyack or Terrytown or nearby, don't make a special trip. I mean, it's lovely. You can see the whole hour film. And there's one thing I did learn. Luckily, he grew up in a time in the 1880s in an upper middle class town like Nyack, and that the feeling or the mores of the town and the area said, look, if you have children, especially sons, they don't have to work where the father or the family does. They're not required to spend their teenage years there. They should go out, have fun, sail, explore, go to the soda shop, go for walks in the woods, have a hobby. So he did that. This, it's interesting. That's about it. 2 floors, there's maybe one original there. Go to Gloucester instead, go to the Whitney. Yeah, there are lots and lots of books. This one happens to be a really good one. Lots of Wenders and Gerald, Western Motel. And that's the last thing I have to say. What is that a picture of?
Tanks.
You're welcome. This is remarkable. I actually made it on time.
Thank you, Dan. This was so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You left us wanting more.
Thanks for being such a good audience.
Please sign the book that you were here.